What if I told you that everything you think you know about trusting women is wrong? Sounds like a bold statement, doesn't it? But the truth is, trusting the wrong person can cost you everything. You've been taught to trust women for their nurturing qualities, their emotional intelligence, their warmth. Society tells you that women are the anchors in relationships, the caregivers, the heart. But what if this trust, this belief in their inherent goodness, is being manipulated? Machiavelli, the master of power dynamics, once warned, "It is safer to be feared than loved." But there's a subtle extension of that idea when it comes to women. It's safer to be cautious than blindly trusting. For centuries, men have placed their trust in women without fully understanding the psychological power women can wield. But why? Why do men often trust women without question? It's because they have been conditioned to believe that women are trustworthy by nature, often associating them with care, warmth, and love. But the reality is far darker. Women, just like anyone else, can wield trust as a weapon, and often they do. Machiavelli's warning rings clear. Trust, when misplaced, can lead to a downfall. It's not that women are inherently untrustworthy, it's that men fail to recognize the power dynamics at play. Women can influence men's actions, emotions, and decisions in ways that are often invisible, subtle, and powerful. This video will challenge everything you think you know about trust in relationships. It will reveal how, in many cases, the very women you trust the most could be the ones unknowingly pulling the strings of your life. Stay with me, because what we uncover today might make you think twice before trusting a woman again. Trusting someone who feels safe, someone who makes us believe everything is going to be okay. You think that because she's kind, caring, and emotionally supportive, she must be trustworthy. But what if I told you that this belief in a woman's goodness, this blind trust, could be your downfall? This is where Machiavelli's warning starts to hit home. He understood something many people still miss today. Trust is a dangerous thing if it's not earned or respected. Men often trust women without question, and it's not because women have earned that trust. It's because they've been taught to. Think about it. Women have been portrayed for centuries as the nurturers, the caregivers, the ones who hold the family together. Society has placed women on a pedestal as symbols of purity and love. We expect them to be unfailingly honest, compassionate, and loyal. But this image is more of an ideal than a reality. Machiavelli taught us that trusting someone blindly is dangerous, and this is exactly what happens when men put their faith in women based on these idealized perceptions. This illusion of safety is what makes women so powerful. Women don't always have to be overtly manipulative. They can manipulate just by being who we expect them to be. They don't need to shout or demand attention. They simply need to embody the traits society has deemed trustworthy. In this section, we explore why this misplaced trust happens. Why do men trust women more than they should? It's because men let their guard down when they feel they are in a relationship with someone who is supposed to be their emotional rock. They don't see that this emotional dependency can be used against them. Women often unknowingly tap into this emotional need and gain influence over the man's choices and actions. And here's the thing, it's not just about the women you date or marry, it's about the women in your life who, consciously or unconsciously, hold power over you, the ones you trust without question. From your mother to close friends, the pattern repeats. The more we trust, the more vulnerable we become to manipulation. The real danger is that we don't see it coming. We don't recognize that trust, when given freely without understanding the dynamics of power, can be easily misused. And by the time we realize it, the damage is often already done. Machiavelli didn't just teach us about politics and power. His warnings extend far deeper, touching the very fabric of human interaction. He understood that perception, not reality, is what truly drives people. The way people see you can change the way they treat you, and that's where the power lies. When it comes to relationships, women often hold power not by sheer force, but by controlling how they are perceived. Think about it, women have mastered the art of shaping the way others see them. They know that if they can control the narrative, they can control the outcome. The power of perception is subtle and psychological. It's not about what's actually true, but about how people believe it to be true. And this is where men often fall into the trap. Women are experts at projecting the image of being trustworthy, caring and nurturing, even when they may not be. They shape how men see them, and in doing so, they shape the power they have over them. You've likely seen it before: a woman who seems completely innocent, someone you can open up to without hesitation. She gives off a sense of warmth, an image of being safe. But behind that carefully curated image, there may be layers of influence and control. She doesn't need to raise her voice or manipulate directly. All she has to do is be perceived as trustworthy. Machiavelli's lesson here is simple. Never underestimate the power of how you're seen, and women, more than anyone, understand this principle deeply. They know how to make themselves appear invaluable, like someone who can be trusted, someone who would never betray you. In reality, this trust can be used against you, subtly shifting the balance of power in the relationship. The real danger: you don't see it happening. Women can manipulate not through obvious moves, but by creating an emotional environment where men feel safe, seen, and valued. This is manipulation through emotional control. They shape your emotions, your decisions, and your perspective of reality without you even realizing it. This isn't to say that all women use these tactics maliciously. It's about understanding that manipulation doesn't always look like a villainous plot. It's often the subtle, everyday things that leave men vulnerable to emotional influence. When a woman controls how she is seen, she controls how you treat her. And when she controls how you treat her, she controls the power dynamics in the relationship. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said that power is not about force, it's about how people see you and how you make them feel. Women who understand this can manipulate the emotional currents of relationships, gaining power and influence without anyone even noticing. Imagine this: you trust someone completely. You open your heart, you let down your guard, and you believe that your trust will be returned. You think you know them after all. They've shown you warmth, affection, and support. But what if that trust was never meant to be respected? This is the risk we take when we trust without fully understanding the psychological games at play. Machiavelli knew this danger all too well. Trust, when misplaced, doesn't just hurt emotionally, it can destroy your empowerment, your control, and sometimes even your life's work. Take a look at history. One of the most famous betrayals in the ancient world was Julius Caesar, who, surrounded by trusted allies, was stabbed by those he trusted most, including Brutus, someone he had considered a close confidant. Caesar's mistake was not in trusting others, it was in trusting too easily. He didn't see the dangerous forces at play, forces that were hidden beneath the surface of loyalty and camaraderie. He didn't recognize the subtle manipulation, the careful crafting of perceptions that led to his betrayal. This dynamic plays out again and again throughout history. Women have often been behind the scenes, using trust and emotional influence as a way to shape events. Consider Cleopatra and her relationship with Julius Caesar, and later Mark Antony. While their political alliances were based on trust and strategy, Cleopatra wielded her power over these men with emotional and psychological influence. She shaped their actions, made them feel like they had control, even as she subtly took the reins. She knew how to appear vulnerable, yet always kept control over the relationship. Fast forward to modern times. How many men have placed their trust in women only to face betrayal and loss of power? The consequences of misplaced trust can manifest in many ways, whether it's a romantic partner who manipulates your emotions for personal gain, or a close friend who uses your trust to destroy your reputation. But betrayal doesn't always come from bad intentions. Sometimes it's about misunderstanding the power dynamics. Women, like anyone, can wield their influence in subtle ways, without ever having to break a promise or outright deceive you. The power they hold is in how they influence your decisions and how you perceive them. So what does this all mean? Trust is a fragile thing. Machiavelli's warning isn't about distrusting women, but about recognizing the inherent risks in giving away your trust without understanding the forces at play. He understood that when trust is misplaced, the consequences are irreversible. Women, like any person, can manipulate situations to their benefit, especially when they know they control how they're perceived. And this is where men fail. They often trust without considering the invisible power dynamics at play. This section is a stark reminder that trust should never be blind. Without understanding the psychology of influence, without realizing how trust can be used against you, you are vulnerable. Women's power is often hidden in plain sight, and its strength lies in their ability to influence perception and emotions. This isn't about manipulating with words or actions. It's about creating an emotional environment where men are drawn to them without even realizing it. You see, emotional control is a tool of immense power. The person who controls the emotions of others essentially controls their actions. And women are masters at using emotional influence to shape men's decisions, desires, and even destinies. Whether it's through subtle gestures, the way they speak, or how they create emotional tension, women can shape the course of relationships, careers, and even entire communities by the energy they project. Take a moment to think about the women in your life. Have you ever noticed how easily they shift the emotional atmosphere in a room? They don't have to shout or demand attention. Sometimes it's a simple look, a change in tone, or the slightest hint of vulnerability. This is emotional control at its finest. Women don't need to overtly manipulate to gain influence. They simply need to create a space where men feel compelled to follow. Machiavelli understood that control is not always visible. Sometimes it's the silent influence that holds the most power. He said, "The wise ruler understands that true power lies in perception and emotional engagement, not in brute force." Women's ability to create mystery and emotional unpredictability is a perfect example of this. They draw men in, not through grand gestures, but through a slow, quiet manipulation of emotions and perceptions. Why is this so powerful? Because when a man's emotions are engaged, his logical mind starts to lose control. He's no longer thinking clearly. He's emotionally invested, and once you're emotionally invested, your decisions are often clouded by desire and attachment. Women understand this dynamic, and without even needing to say much, they can make men act in ways they never thought possible. Think about the classic power dynamic in dating and relationships. A woman doesn't need to be overtly controlling to gain influence. By simply holding back, by being just a little elusive, she creates a space where the man feels compelled to pursue. That pursuit, that constant striving for her approval or affection, gives her power. She holds the emotional keys, and with that, she can guide the course of the relationship, often without even consciously trying. Machiavelli's warning wasn't just about manipulation for the sake of manipulation. It was about understanding the nature of influence. Women who understand their own emotional influence can shape relationships, power, and even society in ways that men rarely see coming. How do you protect yourself from falling into the same trap that so many men before you have? The truth is, the greatest power you can have in relationships isn't in how much you give, but in how much you keep for yourself. Machiavelli's warning is not about distrusting women. It's about recognizing the power dynamics that exist beneath the surface. Women's ability to influence and manipulate isn't inherently evil. It's simply a force of nature, one that men must be aware of if they want to protect themselves. Knowledge is power. Understanding these dynamics gives you the awareness to not be caught off guard, to recognize when your emotions and trust are being used to shape your decisions without your realization. So what's the next step? Trust with caution, but do not close yourself off completely. Machiavelli never said to avoid trust altogether. He said to be wise in who you trust and to understand why you trust them. This goes beyond just women. It's about understanding human nature and how emotional manipulation can occur in all types of relationships. But in romantic and personal relationships, where emotions are involved, the stakes are even higher. When you allow someone to shape your emotional world, they can shape your life. This means setting boundaries. Guard your emotions until you understand the true nature of the person in front of you. Just as Machiavelli advised rulers to be careful who they showed their power to, you must be careful who you give your trust and emotional investment to. Don't fall for the image, the charisma, or the idealized notion of a woman. See her for who she really is and understand that your trust must be earned, not freely given. To truly protect yourself, you must become emotionally independent. Women, like any person, are not inherently manipulative, but the dynamics of attraction, power, and influence often lead to situations where they unconsciously wield power over men. Don't let that happen to you. Build the strength to stand firm in your own worth. Let your actions and decisions be based on self-awareness, not on emotional vulnerability. The final message is this: knowledge of power and emotional manipulation doesn't make you paranoid, it makes you empowered. You can navigate relationships with the wisdom to recognize when trust is being misused. You can trust, but only when you fully understand the forces at play. Machiavelli didn't advocate for blind trust or blind mistrust. He advocated for clarity, self-awareness, and emotional control. Once you master these, you will no longer fall prey to emotional manipulation. Instead, you'll be the one shaping your own reality, free from the hidden forces that once held you captive. Now that you've seen the hidden dynamics behind trust and emotional manipulation, it's time to take control. Are you ready to see the forces at play in your own relationships? It's not just about trusting or distrusting. It's about understanding the subtle power shifts that happen every day. Comment below, have you experienced manipulation or power dynamics like this in your relationships? Share your thoughts. Let's start the conversation about trust, power, and emotional control. If you found this video eye-opening, hit like, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights into human behavior, psychological power, and the hidden truths of relationships. Keep questioning, keep learning, and most importantly, keep your emotional power in your hands. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.